Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of Need For Speed Payback. I played it on the PS4, it's also available on the Xbox One and PC. So let's start with the story. The story is a complete waste of time. You are a guy named Tyler who is as generic as can be. You have a crew of people you do heists with, I guess. And supposedly your guy is the best driver in whatever the hell. It's like Fortune Valley, something like that. The reason I don't seem to care is because the story is garbage. Your character basically tried to pull off a heist, he gets double-crossed, and then he has to work for a different bad guy in order to get himself unscrewed. And then somehow, through driving, he's gonna take down a much larger criminal organization. Yeah, it makes no sense. At least in other games that have done stuff like this, I will specifically mention The Crew. Your badass driver is trying to take down a car club, like a motorcycle club gang thing, but for cars. That makes sense, sort of. It makes way more sense than this does. Onto the audio. The voiceover work it's cheesy. I mean, that's not that surprising from a Need for Speed game, but man, it is super cheesy. And not just cheesy, it's like discount porn acting. It's terrible. The soundtrack to the game is alright at best when it's playing because it just randomly cuts out. And I mean, it cuts out while you're driving, so you can spend an extended period of time driving with no music, just listening to your cartoony sounding car. So let's get into that. The cars sound like cartoon versions of these vehicles. The squealing of the tires, all that jazz, that stuff's well enough, but the cars themselves, revving the engine sounds like shit for some reason. On to the gameplay. The gameplay is also garbage because you can no longer tune your vehicles. You have to get parts for them, and then once you have those parts, you can't actually tune the vehicle. All it is the most dumbed down arcade style racer out there. At least other ones, you can really go in and do some actually serious tuning based on what you really want. You can sort of do that with this, but not really, because all of the parts, they have their set stats, but then they have boosts to certain stats, and that's completely random. So you may not necessarily get what you need from it. On top of that, and this will apply to the controls later, there's a hidden menu. It's not super hidden, but it's also never really pointed out to you that grotesquely affects your steering. If you don't know about this, the cars can steer like complete garbage, which, unsurprisingly, makes the early parts of the game very difficult. So let's get into the other stuff about that. So there's different types of races, there's drifting, there's drag racing, etc, etc. And you need a car for each of those. You can't take one car and tune it to different specs. You have to buy another car. Which, yeah, that wouldn't be so terrible, except for you win absolutely dick when it comes to money in this game for races. So you have to grind out races to get a better car so that you can do drift racing or whatever. Let's speak about the grinding in this game because it ties into the parts. So, you win a race, and you get a piece of gear at the end of it, and that piece of gear probably sucks. Happened to me the majority of the races I won. The gear I got sucked. It wasn't even worth replacing in my car. So then, you have to grind out a bunch of races, getting jack shit for money, so that you can upgrade your car, so you can go do another race that will progress the game. I don't mind grinding, I really don't, if I'm not forced to do it. If I went too far in a game without getting as strong as I need to, if I'm not at the high enough level to beat a boss, or if I just want to make something a little easier, I'll gladly grind out some levels. I'll gladly grind out some levels if I want some better gear, or if I want that car that I don't really need, but I want, I'll grind for it. But when I am absolutely forced to grind to upgrade my vehicle to progress the story, that's bullshit. You also need to go in and play with other, settings in this game because things like the wreck car camera, complete waste of time when you're being chased by cops because then it focuses on that wreck, not what's going on in front of you, so you tend to crash for bullshit reasons. It's stupid to have there in the first place. Or the game does stupid things like it put me in a drag car and made me do a street race. Problem with that is no matter what you do with the drag car, it still does not street race. It's steers for shit by comparison. That is basically every race in this game though. They're all pointless and it's just garbage throughout. Let's go on to the controls. Once you figure out that you can tweak the steering, which the game never really tells you you can do because it's not in the actual tuning area of the menus. It's in a secret little menu that you can only access while you're driving around on the streets, not during races. Then you can tweak your steering and it becomes a more tolerable control setup. That having been said, for the first couple hours of this game, or more, I don't really know when I figured that out. I just thought the controls were just complete shit in this game. I mean, basically unresponsive steering, which oddly enough, not okay for a racing game. And lastly, let's talk about the graphics. It doesn't look good. It doesn't even look remotely good. How is this a AAA title? This looks like something that should have launched on the Xbox One or PS4. Maybe something from the end of the 360 era. So to sum this up, and if you couldn't guess by now, this game is absolutely a skip. It was garbage. It is like a flaming pile of garbage. I generally don't make recommendations at the end of my reviews, but I will in this case. The crew is better. The last Need for Speed, which is somehow made by the same company, much better. And lastly, Forza Horizon 3, much better. Go play any of those games if you want an arcade-style racer. Just whatever you do, skip this game. It's trash. It is beyond trash. Okay, so in the comments below, why don't you tell me what your worst racing game is? And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. And if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one.